Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Random Redshirt podcast. I am one of the hosts, Zach, and the other host is Chris. What's up, bro?
Hello, my dear friend Zach. Excellent to see you and to be here and to be back
Yeah.
to be back from far away, far away remote travels. And now I'm back.
Yeah, you went
Yeah.
to Mordor and back, didn't you?
I went to Mordor and back. And there were no trees in Mordor, just a handful
That's
of trees in Mordor. But
that's crazy,
yeah,
dude. That
yeah.
yeah. What an experience. How cool that
Mhm.
was. Thank you for sharing those
Uh,
pictures with me
yeah.
and the video. That was great. Yeah, I guess you just never know sometimes where work and life is going to take you.
hmm An amazing experience, though. Glad to be back. Glad to see you. So we're back together. I got to watch the season finale of Star Trek Strange New Worlds as you did.
Yep.
And yep. And
We have some thoughts. We have some thoughts, don't we?
we do indeed. But like, you been okay? How's life?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay?
I'm just tired, man. I told you
Yeah.
I've been working shift work at my job, and so I just got off 6 days in a row working overnight. So my body is, fighting, is resisting to sleep at normal time, and I keep telling myself resistance is futile, but at the same time, it can't be. Otherwise, I'll never get back to sleep at a normal time. So no, I've been good, just working, been trying to catch up on sleep, which is not scientifically possible, but I've done my best. And finishing up Strange New Worlds season three. It's wild to think that we're here, Chris. Like the season's over. I mean it. And I'm said this is now like probably the millionth time I've said this. And if you're watching or listening, you're probably sick of hearing me say this. But it's really crazy how fast this goes. And
Yeah.
10 episodes goes by so fast. And it was one. Well, we got the first two episodes the first week. So really, we had 9 weeks if my public math serves me correctly, because I'm not good at mathing in public. But about 9 weeks. So basically about 2 months, right? Straight of episode every week, and it it just went by so fast. I mean, if you think about it, this season started what in July? Was it
Yeah.
July or early August? I can't remember exactly. It was July. Yeah, it
I
was
think it
because the
was.
the first few episodes had already been out before I'd gone to Vegas for the Star Trek convention. So it's just crazy that the season's over because we've talked about it before. We love doing this. We love doing these episode by episode discussions where we really get to break down the details and the lines and the character interactions and the ungodly love triangles and all other sorts of things that may or may not have popped up in the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there were certainly some big shifts from your favorite character, Leon, my favorite character, like preceding this season,
Yeah.
Nurse Chapel. Definitely some big shifts in their character arcs. Yeah, yeah,
Big time.
big time.
Big time. And we know this show is not afraid to take risks. And I think up till season three, I think the risks have been successful. I would argue some of the risks they took in some of the episodes this season worked, and I think there were a couple that just, frankly, to me, fell flat or didn't quite work as well as some of the other ones did.
hmm Yeah. Uh, So I hope that there are those, and everyone, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you, like as Zach
Yeah.
says. And so I hope, like a lot of the folks that listen to it, I do hope that they enjoyed this season finale and liked it, at least some of them, and they can share, like their enjoyment and kind of their perspective and their aspect
Right.
of that. Because,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
agree. Uh, if this is your first time watching or listening to us, welcome to the Random Red Shirt podcast. We're a couple of nerdy guys who like to talk about all things nerdy and geeky. Be sure to go on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, your favorite podcast platform, or YouTube, depending on which way that you watch or listen to us, to find all of our episodes in both an audio and video. Well, most of our episodes are in video format now, but all of our episodes are in audio format on your favorite podcast platform. And you can follow us on those three social media platforms I just mentioned. And I do want to preface this as before we jump into the season finale of Strange New Worlds. because TV shows, movies, entertainment, it's just like food, right? Everybody has their own taste. Everybody has different likes and dislikes. Opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody has one, right? And so, if you watch and listen to us, this is our opinion. These are our likes and dislikes. You may disagree, and that is completely okay. You are entitled to your opinion and what you like and dislike. Some people like the love between Spock and La'an that's been developing. Others want to gouge our eyes out with blunt spoons and, like a scene from Chris's favorite sci-fi movie, Event Horizon. So, anyways, I'm kidding, but no, really, I want to preface that because as we have gone through this season and the other episodes from other seasons as well and other shows and stuff, we have our likes and dislikes. And it's okay if you don't feel the same way. That's cool, man. If Discovery is your favorite show, that's cool. If the original series is your favorite show, that's cool too. If any of the other shows are your favorite show, that's awesome. If DS9 is your favorite show, you're definitely okay in my book. But
Then you're
besides the point,
correct. Yeah.
then you are correct if that is your favorite. But anywho, yeah. So here we are,
Yeah,
Chris. Strange
we
New
are.
Worlds, season 3, episode number 10, the finale, which is still hard even after now 3 seasons to say that the 10th episode is the finale, but it is. And this episode is entitled New Life and New Civilizations. It's written by Dana Horgan and Davey Perez and directed by, and I'm trying to butcher this name, Maja
Mm.
Vervilo or Vervillo, however you say it. Again, I probably butchered it, so I apologize. But this episode, Chris, actually takes us back to continue the storyline from a previous season 3 episode.
It did with Dr. Corby and kind of their discovery on that planet. It takes us back there, and it takes us back to reintroduce us to another character, not another character, the character that we thought was gone but is not gone.
Yeah.
Nurse. What is his name? His name is right on the top of my mind. I want to say Gamby, but I'm gonna totally,
Gamble.
but Gamble.
Gamble,
Thank
I
you,
think is what it was. Yeah.
Gamble. Yeah. So it does take us back to some earlier points in the season, which is great. I'm gonna be really critical about this episode. For those listening, I it's hard. I hope people, that's why I said I hope people like did enjoy it and did like it and like yeah, Zach, you had it great. Like, yep, everyone's different and everyone's got different opinions, but for me, I'll probably be pretty critical throughout when we talk about this episode. But yeah, Gamble was there. And
Yeah.
Gamble had been introduced to us, I think, in episode 1 of the season. Um, and
Yes, I
yeah, so
believe
that
I believe you're right. I think it was
yeah.
episode 1.
Yeah, as a new character. And when he came into the season, like we liked Gamble. Um,
I still like Gamble, even though that character is dead in
yeah,
essence, right? The
yeah,
body was around, but the character's gone.
yeah. And so the idea of like continuing off something that has been built in the past it's always great if you've got like a good foundation that's been built. But I will say like it's so hard to do it when you've got these condensed quantity of episodes throughout the season, right? Essentially only 10. There's only so much you can do with 10, so
Yep.
much you can build with 10. And so, that's a very, very difficult thing to do. But I mean, Gamble does come back as the antagonist in that form of the kind of the vessel for
The Vezda.
the Vezda.
Yeah.
And I man, I feel like all of the background with the Vezda hadn't been adequately built up. I I don't know if they're even gonna continue the Vezda story, but I it them saying that it was just kind of a representation of evil, the Vezda essentially. Okay, that's fine. And then Batel as the representative of good and light, and that's fine. But then we start going into this, in my opinion, this genre of fantasy and not science fiction and not Star Trek.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Interesting thoughts. So, through the lens of time is the first time that, no pun intended, the first episode in which we're introduced to the Vezda, and that it's not a shrine. It's not. I don't know if it's not a temple. We learn that it's basically a jail, right, where they have bottled up all these crazy creatures and stuck them in there to keep them from getting out because Pelia says at the end of the episode that if they get out, it's, bad news, right, for the galaxy. Um, when we watched that episode and we discussed it, did you have thoughts that we would probably see the Vesta again, or that the story that had been built through the lens of time wasn't finished yet and that they were going to come back to that? And you have any of those thoughts based on the way in which the episode ended? I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily it didn't necessarily end in an open-ended fashion, but it kind of did a little bit.
Yeah. You could sense that because of the way they trapped the Vezda in that container and Scotty put it in the transport buffer.
Yeah.
So definitely you get the feeling that somehow the storyline is going to be like revisited.
Especially because at the end there was a scene, I think on the display screen in sick bay where the display had kind of changed and there was some ancient
Yeah.
writing in there, and you're like, okay, so this is to be continued. My thought though was that we would get that maybe in season 4.
Hmm.
We come back to
Yeah.
that. I didn't think it would come back in the season finale, or that it would be the season finale of Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Here we are. And it was. It
Yeah.
was the season finale.
It was. Well, this episode opens up with Dr. Corby again, and he's doing archaeological stuff again, and stuff that resembles the Vezda. And at the same time, the Enterprise is also finding out that Gamble has been resurrected.
Yeah.
Uh, it it was an interesting opening because it was kind of like that kind of stumbled its way to the of to this idea of, okay, so the Vesta creature got out of the transporter buffer somehow, and they don't understand how. And by that time that they figured it out, it was already too late.
Yeah.
The Vesta had already got down to the surface through that, I don't know, like almost like Stargate SG-1 kind of gateway door, right? Where you just, because they went through that door on the planet, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're back at the temple again, which was another planet far away. So it had a very, very, very Stargate SG-1 kind of feel.
Yeah. And I think that was to me, it was such a big leap. Uh, just putting that kind of mechanism into the episode with just like that, just setting it down. Like this is the mechanism we're gonna use.
Yeah.
And it really felt like a leap to me. And
Mm.
and so did that door kind of gate thing and jumping around a little bit, but then all of the energy that took to open that door with the phasers from the two starships and how
Yeah.
they had to align. Hmm.
Yeah.
My friend. Hmm.
So did you feel like the alien species on the planet that had this very cult-like following of the Vesta creature, right? They very like godlike type of, feeling. And I think at one point he makes the creatures dig their eyes out, and you see them with no eyes, or whatever. And I'm like, oh Lord, it's like Event Horizon all over again. But that idea very much reminded me of Star Trek Into Darkness, that opens up with McCoy and Kirk on the planet, and you have those creature that species. It's very uh pretty primitive, right? And they're trying to hide and all this stuff. And then they see the ship come out of the water and blast off and they start worshiping the ship.
Yeah.
Kind of a similar feeling. Not to bring the JJ movies into canon,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of doing that just for the purposes of comparison here.
No, it's good. But you know what? I'll say that scene in the JJ Star Trek Into Darkness was better than the for me
Mm.
to this scene on Strange New Worlds with the inhabitants on the planet and the Vezda there. I mean, it wasn't clear to me like if those inhabitants by culture like worshipped the Vezda or if the Vezda had like inhabited one of their people and they didn't know that and they that this just happened to be their leader and that's who they worshipped anyways. But it got for me seeing that scene where they were chanting and then they started ripping their eyes out. It was just for me, I was just like, I don't need that. I don't. It was just
Do you feel like it added anything to the episode? I don't feel like it did, other than the fact that this Vesta creature, right, that has the appearance of Gamble's body, uh, is in control and has powers and the ability to make these this alien species do stuff. But to me, I don't feel like if you had gotten rid of that, I don't know if the episode would have been changed in any way.
I agree. I thought it confused it. Didn't add anything to me. I thought it was just unnecessary like gore
Mm,
to me for that to happen. I don't know why they were doing that to their eyes in the first place. Like Gamble had lost his eyes, I thought in in the episode Through the Lens of Time because of a
yes.
explosion,
Right. Yeah.
right? And I thought that's why he lost his eyes. But and then in this episode, they're they're gouging their eyes out, and that made no sense to me on like why you would do that.
The only thing I can think of as the reason why was because it was showing the power that this creature had over the
Mm-hmm.
inhabitants of the planet, right? That
Mm-hmm.
it had the ability to manipulate and control this particular species of alien to do whatever it wanted to.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but even then, you kind of had to you sort of had to come to that idea on your own, right? I don't it wasn't super obvious. You really had to have some level of conjecture there to figure that out or have that become an idea.
yeah. I think that's a great way to put it, and I feel like it then it kind of goes in more towards the genre of it. It did not feel like a Star Trek science fiction genre. It felt like, okay, you're going in more into the realm of magic and possession and horror and fantasy. And that's actually how I feel this episode, the genre of this episode was.
Yeah.
Um, my wife was seeing it like a little bit as well, and she said, "Oh, this is not her opinion." Like just watching it, and she's like, "This is not Star Trek."
Mm.
She says, "This doesn't make any sense to me." And I said, "Yeah, I have to agree." I watched this episode twice to
Oh, okay.
to kind of give it like another chance going through
I watched this episode at like 2 in the morning.
2 in the morning. Yeah.
um, yeah, I had questions when I finished it. I didn't watch it twice, but I feel like the episode stuck pretty vividly in my mind about this. Okay, so we get introduced to this new species, the Vezda, right, in Through a Lens of Time. Then they have the wherewithal to bring them back, which I think you and I could both agree, based on the way Through the Lens of Time ended, that there was a probably a pretty good chance we were going to see these creatures again at some point, right?
Hmm.
The way they left it open ended, but in a way where it made the episode self contained, like you could keep it as a single episode, right? There are plenty of Star Trek episodes where you're like, oh, these things could come back in another episode, and they never do. So you could look at the episode through the lens of time as a single episode,
Yeah.
standalone. And you can also look at it as they set it up and teed it up to be able to bring this species back whenever they chose to. Here's my question. The way in which they set up the Vezda they set them up as like they're this ancient species and they are in and of themselves evil. They are it's almost like they're the origins of evil. So how, like, to me that conflicts a little bit with like the Q continuum and other things in Star Trek. My question is why? How did they become the, or like, how did this species come to be that way? They had to come to be that way at some point. I would have liked to have had, maybe either in this episode or in Through the Lens of Time, some kind of explanation as to why they are supposedly evil itself.
Yeah.
Like they're not just evil, they are evil itself. And I want to know why and how that came to be. Because that would make me then, okay, I can now believe and buy more into the idea that this species is this way. Vice, they just say, well, they're really, really evil. No, 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 they are evil. Okay, well, how? Why? Give me some more information that helps me as an audience member to believe that and to buy into it.
Yeah. I think that was greatly put. I mean, they do like represent the Vezda as this, you're right, the origin of all evil.
Mm-hmm.
And then just say like, hey, that's how it is.
Yeah.
And they represent the Vezda as like, yeah, these just evil monsters. They're they're not, I guess, what you would call like a, or what would we think as a civilization or aliens. They're just this, in a way, this symbol of a religious evil. Like
Right.
if we go that way, right? Because they're just saying this is the origin of all evil. Now, when you start going, when you introduce that idea in Star Trek, you're saying, well, this is absolute evil and this is absolute good because this is what they're doing in this episode, like Batel as the representative of light and
Yeah.
good, and then these Vezda as the representative of evil. If you do that, then that brings an interesting kind of dynamic and discussion that you can do and start exploring in Star Trek and have these really intelligent conversations about it to go like deep. But I don't think this episode did it. It just goes, oh yeah, these things are evil. And by the way,
Mhm.
yeah, um, Captain Batel is the representative of all that's good and light in the world, and so she's going to like guard over this evil. Uh, and you just go there. Then I mean, I have a problem with that. I think a lot of people probably have a problem with that.
Yeah, I wanna dive into the Battelle thing here in
Yeah,
a minute. I want to also, let's take a look back a little bit across the Star Trek franchise because this isn't the first time where we have seen a character or a species be referred to in this way. Not necessarily evil itself, but the idea of being evil. Um, I can think of this idea. Maybe evil wasn't the word that was used, but the Borg have been referenced in a certain way that where they can't be reasoned with, they can't be, bargained with. Like they are just these mindless machines, and
mm,
and of course, the episode I Borg with Hugh that kind of changes that idea.
mhm.
The character of Seven of Nine kind of changed that because she's brought out from the Borg. I mean, there are things that make you go, well, hang on a second. I don't necessarily think that's entirely true. So we've seen it in the Borg. When you see it with the Pa Wraiths in DS9, and then you see it with Gul Dukat, he is referred to as being evil in DS9, especially when he gets possessed by the Pa Wraiths.
Mhm.
We have seen things across the Star Trek franchise similarly referred to, not exactly the way the Vesta are, but similarly referred to. And we've said this before on the show that Star Trek, if nothing else, does what it already knows, right? And so Strange New Worlds has, as if we look deep into each of these episodes, which we have, Star Trek Strange New Worlds has leaned in on things that Star Trek has done before in a familiar way.
Yeah, yeah. Your example from DS9, like in the Power Wraiths and Gold Dukat, I think they they worked for it though. Like so you get to this idea of like you
Yes.
right you develop all of that and you come to the conclusion that okay, these antagonists are evil, but you've worked at you saw their personality, you saw how they approach situations, you saw kind of their characteristics of you go, oh, maybe they're not really evil, maybe they're like an okay thing. But then you go, oh no, based on all of this, yeah, they're evil. You worked for it and
Right.
you kind of earned that.
Yeah. Gul Dukat
Yeah.
was built up that way over many episodes across 7 seasons, culminating in season 7 when he is killed in the fire pits.
Yeah.
Um, and the Paw Race are mentioned many times leading up to seeing the Paw Race interact and possess Ducat. No, it's he. Well, he's possessed in season 6 because that's when he kills Dax. He's possessed by the Paw Race in season 6, and then he kills Dax in the season 6 finale that we don't talk about. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
we don't talk
Yeah.
about that episode, Chris. And then in season 7 when he meets his ultimate demise because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and the Borg are built up right
Hmm.
over the course of TNG and a little bit in DS9 and a bunch in Voyager, and we get it in again in Enterprise and Star Trek First Contact, and so there's all of this buildup with this, and we don't see that with the Vezda. Now, of course, this is a show with much smaller seasons, much less episodes. And we've talked about the idea that you can't afford to swing and miss on episodes when you only have 10 a season, right? Because
Yeah.
swinging and missing on one episode, let alone multiple episodes in a season, when you only have 10 episodes is a significantly higher percentage of misses than it is when you have maybe 3 or 4 misses across 26 episodes.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so we have two episodes with the Vezda, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like okay, essentially you're telling us that these are the Vezda are demons or a representation of a demon, an evil, because you're
Yeah.
saying that's just what they are. Um, and then Batel is the representative of like a guardian angel, like watching over the demons in prison. And so
Yeah.
I get really turned around the point like this because I really feel like this episode was just more about fantasy and kind of this evil versus good symbology, but
Yeah.
not
There's been,
crafted. Yeah.
yeah, there's been a lot. I mean, do you feel like there's been a lot of kind of religious themes and implications in this season of Strange New Worlds?
But there was
And not that,
definitely
not
yeah,
yeah, not
yeah.
that's a bad thing. I mean, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. You know, we were the first Hegemony Part Two where we see Captain Pike relieved that Batel is alive and he drops to his knee. That was a very moving moment for me
Yeah.
when I watched that. Like I think it was very, very powerful.
One of the best
Um,
moments of the season, I think.
yeah, absolutely. And so I think um tying that to like humanity and faith was important because
Yep.
you can't and this was in DS9 too. Like I know it may be contrary to what Gene Roddenberry was thinking, but just as humans and as a species of a being in the universe, right? Then humans, so many humans have faith. So
Yeah.
acknowledging that part of human existence is like great to do. So I thought it was very moving and great to see that in with Pike at the beginning. So I think it's good. But the but how it comes out in this season finale just doesn't make sense to me. And I just you don't have a build up. I don't feel that they were working towards it because you've got some episodes that are definitely one-offs. You've got one-offs in this season. You only have 10 episodes. You've got four and a half Vulcans. You've got Waiting Bell Blues. You've got, what is Starfleet? You don't have time to build up this kind of grand, epic evil versus good, good protecting everything against evil, uh, kind of story arc that you could do. So that's what I feel like. Yeah, maybe that was very ambitious, trying to think of like let's craft a a season finale like this, where it is where is these archetypes of good and evil in here. And I think that, there's nothing wrong with like being ambitious and wanting to do that, but how you build up to it is like so important. And then I feel like coming into it now, just nothing was clicking and nothing was like making sense. Like, so you have these moments that could be like really beautiful. Those moments with Batel and Pike, which I think you probably love like very much, right? And
Yeah.
um but I also have a problem with those too. You know. So,
So, I mean,
yeah.
at the heart of this episode, it's
Yeah.
good versus evil, right? It's a very basic premise in this episode: good versus evil. Good protecting and evil. I love that when Rick Berman and Michael Piller created Deep Space Nine, one of the things they brought into it that hadn't really been in Star Trek much before was religion. And I think some people out there think that, well, 300 years from now, humanity has gotten better, it will have ditched religion. No, it won't. Religion has been around since the beginning of time. It's going to always be there as long as there's humans running around. So I don't have an issue with the idea of them bringing some, religious themes into it. Star Trek has mostly been based on science and science fiction, but I don't have an issue with them bringing in religious themes and ideas because science fiction is inherently geared towards this idea of religion and religious themes. In fact, I even wrote a paper in college on it about religion in science fiction and how the two really go hand in hand quite well and have been together from the very beginning of science fiction being created. And in fact, my case study for that paper, Chris, was Battlestar Galactica, because
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica is filled with religion and religious implications and the idea of monotheism of a singular god and polytheism with multiple gods, and that kind of coming head to head in Battlestar Galactica. So I don't have an issue with that. But this is an episode that I would have liked to have seen them stretch out over two or maybe three episodes as like a part one, part two, part three, because that would have given that. Now I know they didn't obviously have that time, right? But that would have given them time to really flush all this out, connect the dots, explain. Maybe even just a second part would have been sufficient. In fact, this episode might have been a good one for a season finale cliffhanger to pick up in season four to finalize that. But yeah, and let's talk about Batel because I think that's the next segment of this. In addition to the evil part, right? In addition to the Vezda
Hmm.
that inhabits, what appears to be Gamble's body still, or what looks like Gamble's body. I guess it would be if it was in the transporter buffer, it would have been his body still, I guess. So still
Hmm.
his body. And inhabits his body. And then out of nowhere, Batel gains these magical powers, I guess because she's got Gorn DNA in her. I don't know how the Gorn DNA connects with being this thing that you were meant to be. Uh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
The Batel thing to me was really strange, and we have mentioned this on our show that we were afraid that they were going to nix Batel at some point. Well,
Hmm.
they didn't kill her in the way we might have thought, the whole like Gorn baby and Gorn DNA stuff, but they did remove the character from the show. And we know she's not a TOS legacy character, but they did remove her from the show at the end of this. So,
Yeah. It was very confusing. I mean, even, Battelle says, well, when she says the line like, um, maybe this makes all the sense in the world. They say something like this doesn't make any sense. And she goes, well, maybe it makes all the sense in the world because of the treatment you've been giving me, my hybridization with the Gorn, Una's Illyrian blood, and I think there was another thing. Maybe I've been getting like all the attributes of all the different like species that have fought the Vezda. And so I stopped and I said, no, this doesn't make any sense. So she says, maybe,
yeah,
yeah. Uh, hmm. Such a stretch.
it. it is like, how did there was really no real explanation on how they jumped from her having Gorn DNA and freaking out when she came in contact with the Vezda who inhabited Gamble's body that first time. Remember, she went into like a fight
Yeah.
mode. How do they go from that to all of a sudden she's it's destiny for her to go back to this place that she never was because she wasn't in uh, through the lens of time. She was never down on the planet, right? She was up on the ship. She never went down
Right.
into the actual temple or whatever it was. And now all of a sudden we're to believe that that guardian thingamajig that's in there, that's her.
Yeah.
And that it transforms her and gives her these like starry galactic looking eyes and this light that comes out of her hand that looks like something out of Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And you're just like as I watch that, Chris, I'm like, what? What? This doesn't I don't understand how we got here to this point.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I
I really want to know your thoughts on this whole Batel thing because it did seem like a stretch to me, and I just am so confused on how we made this massive jump out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was a big stretch. I did not like it at all. I don't have any problem with uh Batel being an archetypal character of good and like a guardian type character or a character that you could see that, yeah, she would be the type of character that would sacrifice herself, right, for a greater good. Whether it's for her crewmates or the ship or for humanity or for a planet. Like she
And
would be the
I can believe
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. As was, Pike would do the same thing, but she's got such great like qualities about her. But as I was watching this and seeing what was unfolding, and I started going, I was thinking about how the episode was written and what the actors were thinking when they were reading and learning about this episode, and then how they were feeling, because it was not making sense to me. I don't know like how if it was making sense, to the actors. We like these characters, like we like them. So I was just thinking, how are they feeling about this? Is it even making any sense? Because it's not translating or making sense, like not making sense to me.
Yeah.
Patel, for me, like why she doesn't need to leave. She was one of the first characters you see in Strange New Worlds
Yeah.
from
The
the
pilot
pilot.
episode, right?
Hmm?
With her and Pike.
Yeah. So you can keep her throughout the series as this kind of counterpoint to Pike, because throughout the first two seasons, she's offering like a counter to Pike, kind of keeping him in check in a good way, which I thought was great. Um, so I didn't see any of this as being like as necessary.
Well, and they built her up with the whole Gorn thing, right?
Yeah.
And then they make this big deal about her getting selected to take over basically the JAG office for
Yeah.
Starfleet and get promoted and everything. And she was looking forward to this and all and so forth. And then they turn her into this, and now she's gone. And it's just like, well, but why did we need to build her up the way we did? I mean, she's been in the whole show, not every episode, but she's been a recurring character. And you're 100% right in that, Chris. She was a great balance to Pike.
Yeah.
I thought they made a great couple, and they still could have had them go their separate ways at the end of the series, right?
Hmm.
Or if they decided they were going to just straight up say ignore canon and be like, we're doing kind of doing our own thing here, then they could have kept them together.
Yeah. And
Um,
and and they kind of flirted with this idea of like, hey, she could be some sort of character that changes the outcome for Pike to be like
yeah,
injured, right? They flirted with that
yeah.
idea in this episode. Like,
They even mentioned it. But she even
yeah,
mentions it, right? Like, well, what if what I did or what I do changes things and changes everything and the outcome's different or something? And I
yeah,
mean, maybe they use this episode and what she did to change things.
maybe,
That could
maybe.
be.
And then it was ambiguous to me, like what they're even going to do with that at the end. And then I had problems with uh the kind of the home scene where it is she and Pike living out their lives, because um there's a scene where this is where their daughter is going to get engaged, right? So there's a scene where she's, oh, Chris, come back to me, because he's looking away, like hearing the door knock.
Yep.
And then so that made me feel like, oh, okay, she knows that she's controlling this. Well, that's what I felt. That's how I interpreted that scene. She's controlling this life with her powers, with their kind of opportunity here. But earlier in that life, when Chris returned um, from his assignment on that training vessel, her reaction was, "How can this be? Like, how are you still alive?" It was very much this surprised reaction, and she was grateful and embracing that. So that contradicted, to me, that totally contradicted. Like, she had this genuine reaction of surprise, like,
Mhm.
of like, oh, he's alive, thank goodness. I mean, she didn't know how it could be. And then a f- just a moment later, you see her, and you kind of get this moment where you see, oh, she's controlling this entire kind of inner life right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I did really enjoy the moments that her and Pike had together, and you see
Hmm.
them kind of growing old together and having a daughter, and then her getting engaged to Admiral April's son, nonetheless, which kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And so you see all of that. Uh, it very much felt like the inner light in
Yeah.
that regard. Very inner light like. I I was very moved emotionally by those moments because what you see Pike getting the life that he wanted. He wanted, he was in love with her. He wanted to grow old with her, have a
Yeah.
family. And it also reminded me of the paradise scene or scenes in Menagerie Part One and Two,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
end up being cut from the cage to be played in those episodes, right? Where you see not kids, but you do see Pike with a wife or a woman. I can't remember if it's his wife. I think it's his wife in that, right? If it's not his wife, it's certainly a love
Oh,
interest
yeah. Yeah.
in those moments that he has right in his mind. So
Yeah.
very menagerie cage type idea. And so I'm like, okay, so Batel has the same powers as those aliens on the planet that give him the memories and everything. What I liked about that sequence though is that so Batel is gone. She has sacrificed herself to be this guardian of these things and stay there forever, I guess, or whatever. But I guess if it was her powers or however that worked, she was able to give Pike those memories and that time that they're clearly not going to get together. And
Yeah.
so it's like a parting gesture of love to say, this is what things might have been like
Yeah.
had it been different. And so I thought that was very, very moving. I was very, and maybe it's because it's 2 o'clock in the morning too, but I was very moved at the end there where she's on in bed and obviously she's dying and probably of old age and he's there and he doesn't want to leave her side and he's holding her
Hmm.
hand and everything and then there's a knock at the door. Every time the door knocks, obviously we jump in time. We
Yeah.
jump ahead, right? And some moment happens and then we go forward. But she says, "No, you need to go answer that." And then he leaves and she passes. So that was very touching. Very very inner light feeling with like Picard had with his family. Yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. It may not have been connected perfectly and this, that, and the other, but I thought those moments were some of the best moments of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we get to see Pike and Batel the way we want to, even though we know that's not what we're going to get and what we did get.
Hmm. Hmm. I agree that those were the best moments of the episode where they were like together like that. Yeah. I wish I could have liked it more, but
Mm.
I think. I couldn't, like after I was, kind of taken out and thinking this doesn't make any sense. And
Yeah.
now it just feels really forced. Um, I couldn't I couldn't like it like I would like to like it. And I liked both of those characters like so much,
Yeah.
like Batel and Pike. But I just felt like, no, this just the it felt like uh, there's nothing to build up to this. There was not enough to build up to it. This was really forced and, it's almost didn't feel like deserved,
Mm,
in a way.
interesting. Well, aside from Pike and Battelle, let's talk about a couple other things
Yeah.
that, for me, really chap my hide a little bit. First and foremost, this idea that each ship has enough power with their phasers, it's half the power of our sun, which is absurd because that amount of power I don't think they could even carry on board the ship. And then we're going to combine the ships and we're going to do like a Top Gun roll maneuver after we mind meld. Kirk and Spock mind meld, and we're going to be in sync and do this like dance of the swans movement with our ships, and it's going to be perfectly aligned. I didn't understand the need to do this kind of roll maneuver. Why couldn't they just be right next to each other and fire? Why did they have to be in this like synced Top Gun roll maneuver to do it? That whole sequence to me made no sense and was really, really bizarre.
I
Like
totally, yeah.
if they had that much power to combine two sets of phasers from two different ships, don't you think, and it was as much power as a sun or close to it or something, don't you
Yeah.
think that it would have like melted the freaking door that they were shooting instead of just opening it up? I mean, that was a huge stretch for me, and I didn't like the explanation and the need to do that in order to make the door work.
I so agree, my friend. Thank you for like sharing that. That and I don't want to sound like I'm so critical on this episode, but I have to be agreeing with you like 100, 1000% on this, that this did not make any sense. I'm like this whole sequence, the whole reasoning is so that you can bring Kirk in, so that Spock and Kirk can mind meld
I guess.
because that's the only way that you can synchronize two 23rd century pieces of technology. That's the only way that you can make things
Right.
synchronized with those pieces of equipment. Um,
And this
with
breaks canon too because this would be too early for Spock and Kirk to mind meld,
Yeah,
would it
yeah,
not?
I think it would break canon. Yeah,
In
but
this regard. And
but
same thing with Spock performing mind meld, because I think in a TOS episode, he mentioned he had never done a mind meld with a human before.
yeah,
Well, now he has because he did a mind meld with Lon. I mean, he's pretty much done mind melds with anybody who will do a mind meld with him at this point, right? I think him and
yeah,
Chapel might have done a mind meld. I mean, yeah, it's just so obviously that idea in TOS is long out the window.
yeah. I think so. And so that was, I think, very problematic, that whole sequence. And maybe it sounded good just thinking about that idea, like, oh, let's have them do this, and then, but that's very, 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 to me, just very problematic and does not make sense. And if you think about that sequence, so there is a scene where, because you're right, like it shouldn't have melted the door if they've got a big phaser blast there. But there's this, the door is
Right?
there. There's the scene where Pike and Batel are standing right on the other side of the door. The phaser blasts are coming to them and
Yeah.
hitting the door, right? And they're just standing there. And I just think in terms of, and I understand it's dramatic and it's a great scene to see them like right there, right in front of the door as the phasers hit the door.
Yeah.
But uh, like no, like why would that like that what are we expected to believe like as an audience? Like, oh, one mistake in where like one mistake in how the phaser goes, or maybe the door breaks off and you kill both captains, right?
And you
So
and you like incinerate the planet or part of the planet or something like that. And I guess if humans can create a ship that blows planets up like a Death Star, I guess they can retune the phasers just the right way in order to make it work. And
Yeah.
but my
Yeah.
thing is, you're right, Chris. Why did they need to mind meld just to shoot the phasers at the same time?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't understand that.
I know there was like a brief thing that Scotty and Pelia said, like, oh, if you're out of synchronicity, like even a little bit, like there's gonna be a problem. But okay. So you're gonna use a mind meld as your I guess your most reliable method. The mind meld as the most reliable method to
Yeah.
synchronize. Uh, I just I'm sorry to be so critical, but I just really am on this episode. It just
Well,
does,
it's okay.
yeah,
I mean, this is what we're doing. We are breaking down the episode. We're sharing our thoughts and feelings about the episode. I mean, how critical have I been about the whole Law and Spock thing over the course of this season? Very
yeah,
critical, right? I mean, I don't like it. It's okay to not like an episode. It's okay to not like scenes in an episode. Some people may love this episode. That's great. That's There's no issue there. You don't have to apologize for being critical. That's what
yeah.
we're doing. This is some critical thinking we're doing here. We are thinking through stuff as because remember we are fans. You know when you're a huge fan of a movie or a show or a franchise, you know you have certain expectations. You have certain standards that you feel like should be met by said thing, especially something like Star Trek, which has freaking been around, for almost 60 years, 60 years next year since the pilot episode, pilot episode, the first episode premiered, The Man Trap.
Mhm.
Um, 60 years. That's a lot of time to be building up stuff. And so you develop a fan base that has certain expectations and certain standards and certain desires of what they want to see. Um, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. And yes, there were many things in this episode that just didn't make sense or were head scratchers to me. And obviously, this you felt the same way
Yeah,
for a lot of that as well.
yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, it'll be. I hope people did. I hope there are people that did enjoy this, um,
I'm sure there
and
are.
I
Yeah,
like how it unfolded. So because it's not we're appreciative of the season for sure, and then that and this being an episode, but I just feel like objectively this is a very ambitious episode. There's kind of
hmm
these kind of points in there where like, yeah, you could tease it out where it could be good,
yeah,
but um, but I feel like you got to step back a little bit and go, okay, where do we want to go? What's the best way to get there?
right.
And then when you're trying to create something, and step back and go, does this make sense? Does it feel authentic? If I can use a word to say it, I do not feel that this episode is authentic.
Mm.
So that's what hurts me about those scenes between Pike um and Batel
You
was
didn't feel like those were authentic though?
their relationship is very genuine, yeah.
Yeah,
But how they got there, everything in this episode that forced them into how they got there is inauthentic to me. So that
so
so
maybe not the relationship aspect of, but how they get there is
yeah,
the inauthentic part. Okay,
yeah, their relationship is authentic, but
yeah,
the sequence of events and this circumstance and what is happening, none of that feels authentic to me.
okay,
And I just feel
yeah.
like,
I
yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
can see where you're coming from on that.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think we also must not forget to discuss the Kirk and Spock relationship, not only to what's been built up to this point through Strange New Worlds, but also in this episode. And I want to ask you this question, and I want you to think back from all the way back from the very beginning of this series and pilot episode, which didn't have Pike or didn't have Spock and Kirk together, but just from the very beginning of the show till now, in the different moments that Spock and Kirk have had together. Do you feel like they are trying to hurry up and push this relationship together in order to set up what will eventually become Toss in basically two more seasons worth? Or do you think it's been the right amount? Now, I have voiced my issues with the amount we've had Kirk in the show. I will say I liked the sequence where the him and Spock, where Kirk and Spock were playing 3D chess together. Very much a callback to where No Man Has Gone Before, which is really the first episode that Shatner shot as Kirk, and that's where you see him and Spock playing chess together for the first time, I believe, or at least it was the way in which it was filmed. Not necessarily when it aired, obviously. I think it was like the third or fourth episode to air. So yeah, give me your thoughts, just kind of overall, and then what you saw in this episode, Chris, with the Kirk and Spock relationship building.
Yeah, with this episode in particular, I feel that they were rushing it and rushing to have Kirk and Spock develop a relationship. Um, Particularly when like, I think was there really a reason to have Kirk in this episode? I mean,
Other than to have another ship, I guess, to do
right.
the barrel roll and the phaser shots. Otherwise, no.
Yeah. He, so I think it feels a little bit awkward that now he's coming in as much as he's coming in. And uh, what I'd like to see develop a little bit more is the relationship between Spock and Pike, because in the menagerie and in the cage, I think in the menagerie or the cage, I forget which one, but Spock is compelled when Pike is injured and in toss. Spock is compelled to steal the Enterprise, to commit
Mm.
mutiny, to to do this whole layer of subterfuge um, and manipulation so that he can give his friend Pike a little bit of comfort, right? When Spock finds out that Pike is disabled like that, it is Spock. This is even against Pike's wishes because Spock goes, "I know what I need to do," and Pike in the toss episode, like he does the blinking noise to say, "No, no, don't do it." But despite that, Spock does it. So how do we get there?
Yeah.
Right? That is developing the relationship between Spock and Pike so that he can do that with someone. And I think that would be a beautiful thing to see, a beautiful thing to develop. But now it feels very, very awkward that no, you're trying to develop this relationship between like Kirk and Spock now. I
Yeah.
think I think it's a potential missed opportunity if they don't develop that relationship with between Pike and Spock more.
Yeah. So I did read online that it looks like season 5 of Strange New Worlds is going to be 6 episodes, not a
Oh,
full 10. So
okay.
now, if you think about it, we have got 16 more episodes left of Strange New Worlds before the show's over. My question is does Kirk become really, really big in the show now as we get closer to the end in order to kind of hand off the reins of the Enterprise? And then do they then make a new Star Trek show with Kirk again, with Paul Wesley, which I think would be a huge misstep because that's TOS. We have that. Again, not no offense to the actors. It's just we have that. Um, I don't know where they're going other than they're trying to hurry up and set up as much as possible before the show ends in order to make it, I guess, transition to TOS.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like if that's the case, don't hurry up and get rid of puppet episodes and get rid of some of these other episodes that either we know are coming or have happened where it's like, well, we could have taken you could have taken that valuable time instead of I know you'd like a space adventure hour, but you could
Hmm.
have taken that time and done some more relationship building, knowing full well you only have 10 episodes.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's okay to be critical. I still love this series as a whole. I think it's been really well done. Um, the one thing I do like, Chris, is that this wasn't a cliffhanger the way they
Hmm.
ended it, because now we don't
Yeah.
have to wait a year or 2 years for a new season to come out.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be a 2 year wait this time, but we don't have to wait so long to see how things work out. Because remember, at the end of season 2, we were all like, "Oh, what's going to happen with Batel? You know, she got hit by the Gorn, and she's got these Gorn babies growing in her. What's going to happen? What's going to happen?" And we had to
Yeah.
wait and wait and wait, and we don't have to do that now with this episode, knowing that they're off to go explore, and they set it up as this idea of, oh, it's a 5-year mission. Like, it's not going to be a 5-year mission for Pike
Yeah.
because if he meets his untimely demise, at least in the way we know he does in Toss, then he doesn't have much time left. At least the accident that
Yeah.
gets him into the chair, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, uh, overall, and we're gonna do like a short later this week where we rank our favorite episodes or rank the episodes of the season, season three. But does this episode as a season finale, Chris, leave you wanting more or leave you unsatisfied in any way? Or how does this make you feel as the season's now wrapped?
Hmm.
Like ending on this, waiting for the next season to start. How does this kind of make you feel, and where does this leave you?
It leaves me like I it leaves me like appreciating season one and season two like a lot more, and then the and then the pilot, not the pilot, and then the opening episode of this season, Hegemony Part Two, and then Shuttle to Conforti. More like it leaves me going, okay, I feel like I want to go back and I want to appreciate those more because I feel like those feel more true to me than what's been happening with this last well with the last episode. So um yeah, I'm very appreciative of the series. But it does leave me going, oh, I'm gonna go back to those kind of earlier ones that I think were really crafted in a in a great way, and appreciate those more. And I feel like those are more true
Yeah.
to who the characters are. How about you? How are you feeling with how this tale ended and your overall feeling towards the series?
My overall feeling of the series is uh I felt like there were more misses as far as the episodes go than the first two seasons. Like I felt like
Yeah.
every episode, there wasn't an episode of season one or two that I was just like, oh, this episode was awful. This episode was terrible. Um, I had that with one or two episodes in this season, and we'll
Mm.
talk about that when we discuss our rankings.
Mm.
But uh, yeah, no, I mean, I love Shuttle to Conforti. I really liked Terrarium. I had my issues with 4.5 Vulcans, but it was funny.
Hmm.
Hegemony Part Two is great. So there are some great moments in this season, some really great moments in this season, and then there are some other head scratchers, and you're just like, what? You know? So I feel the same way you do, Chris,
Yeah.
where to me, if I'm going back and rewatching stuff, I'm going to go back and rewatch season one and two. I have a few of my absolute favorites uh, uh, in season one and two that I'd love to watch again, to include among the Lotus Eaters, which I've mentioned before.
Yeah.
That episode really stands out to me a lot. It's so well written, and it's a hard episode to watch because it's emotionally draining. I feel like when
Hmm.
you watch that, just the emotions that stirs up. So yeah, I guess I kind of feel I feel I'm going to use the word unsatisfied
Hmm.
for this season, and here's
Hmm.
why. Because I feel like there's things that I thought they could have done, or I feel like they should have done in this season, whether it
Hmm.
was relationship building or a certain type of storytelling that they just didn't do.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe season four they'll come back and they'll do some things. My concern is as we get closer to the series ending, and we're going to go into a new season in season four. My concern is we're going to start getting a lot of, well, this episode is done in order to help the transition to get these characters towards closer to TOS, which that's
Yeah.
going to happen. But it's like I want to see original storytelling. I want
Yeah.
to see original character development. The end of this episode, New Life and New Civilizations, had the whole like Spock and Lon in the quarters, and there
Hmm.
the I just um, but man, my heart broke for Pike, man. It broke for Pike because he loved Batel so much, and
Yeah.
he was willing to do anything. He was willing to give up his career for her. I think he would have done things I think he would have done things for Batel that violated his own ethics if they really wanted to create an episode like that. I
Hmm.
really think he was so in love with her, he was willing to do things that he would not ordinarily do.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we never got to that point, unfortunately. I would have liked to have seen a test of Pike's core values and his ethics when it came to a decision to deal with Patel. That would have been really moving, and I think that would have really furthered things a lot between for those two.
That's a great idea. I completely agree. Yeah, that is a
Like
great idea. Having
some
them.
scenario, right, where it's like
Yeah,
if he does this, he could get court-martialed.
yeah,
But if he doesn't do it, Batel could die, and so then what or something she could be seriously injured. Like, what does he do? Right? Does he put his personal feelings and his relationship ahead of his duties to Starfleet and his own moral code or whatever? That to
yeah,
me would have been a really great episode to dissect the character of Pike itself.
yeah. I agree.
That would have been awesome.
I yeah. And to go back a little bit of what I was thinking about Spock and Pike and kind of I hope we'll see. I hope they develop it a little bit more. But in Toss, what you realize in that episode of Toss is um Spock's sentence for what he did, like if he was convicted, is the death sentence.
Yeah,
Because I think like going to Talos 4, like that's the only crime like you could do where it was death. So like where it somehow, you get to this point with the relationship between Spock and Pike where like, okay, you know, Spock wants to help Pike so bad, like relieve Pike's pain so bad that he's not just sacrificing his career, but he's going, it's okay. If I get convicted and get the death penalty, it's okay.
yeah,
So that history between them, there's a lot that has to happen, right? So I, that'd be great to see,
yeah.
if they go that direction.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I just, from a fan perspective, and everybody's going to be different, right? But
Yeah.
there's things I would have liked to have seen this season. There are different directions I would have liked to have seen them take in this season. But who knows? We'll see what happens in next season. I still have a lot of faith in the creation of this show and of another season. The puppet thing, I don't know how they're going to make that work, but we'll find out. And yeah, I still have faith that they're going to continue to make a good series overall. I mean, there are still some great episodes in this season, and yeah, I mean, we know Dan has another episode in season four, and maybe hopefully season five too. And so we look forward to another Dan Liu episode and episodes of some of the other directors and writers that we've seen in this season and others. And no, not every director, not every writer is going to make the perfect episode or perfect movie every single time, right? There's going to be misses. And so, we're not bashing on the writers, the directors of this, necessarily. We're more of just we're critiquing with what we like and what we dislike. And, as fans, I think that we have every right to do that. That's part of being a fan,
Hmm.
it's part and we love the franchise so much that we want to see it succeed. We want to see great storytelling, great character development, because Star Trek to me is not just entertainment. It's good storytelling. It makes it should make you think. Um, and so that's I want to continue to see more of that,
Yeah,
which I think
absolutely.
would be great. So, well, all right, Chris.
Hmm.
Season three of Strange New Worlds is a wrap, and we look forward to talking about season four when it comes out sometime, hopefully next year, maybe. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of amazing stuff coming up on the show. We're working on lining up some guests. One who I just actually emailed today, and if we get this individual, would be like a Mount Rushmore for
Hmm.
me as far as guests that we could have on the show. One of the Mount Rushmore guests we had on already was Natalia.
Yeah.
So um, uh, we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. And on top of that, we got to finish our Section 31
Yeah.
spotlight series. And we're going to start working and putting together and prepping for our 2025 Halloween series to get all of you prepped for the upcoming fall and Halloween season as we give you some amazing science fiction episodes and movies and things like that to watch if you're not into all the gory horror stuff like we are definitely not that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to our Halloween episodes. That's gonna be fun.
Me too. Me too. And I know we've already got a few ideas, so we'll work on flushing that out. But other than our short, we're gonna take a couple week break as we have some work travel coming up and some weird hours that some of us are working that don't allow us to record during that time. But we will come back shortly with a short, actually. So be sure to stay tuned for that here in a few days. And other than that, we look forward to coming back soon as we wrap up some of the stuff and prepare for a new season of the podcast, Chris.
Awesome. It's gonna be fun, my friend. Looking forward to our short because yeah, we're gonna get collect our thoughts, our overall thoughts on the series, the season,
Yeah.
and get to share them with each other. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah. It's going to be great. So, yep. Thank you as always, everybody, for watching and listening all over the globe and the interwebs. We very much appreciate that. Again, as I said before, please go to Facebook and Instagram and Threads, your favorite podcast platform, YouTube. You can find us all there with episodes, content, announcements, posts, you name it. It's all on there. And yeah, this was a blast, Chris.
Yeah.
Season 3 of Strange New Worlds, episode by episode. Had a blast as always doing this with you, my friend. And we can't wait to bring you guys more stuff very, very soon. So, yeah. So take care, everybody. We'll catch you next time right here on the Random Redshirt Podcast.